For almost 40,000 members of the armed forces, yesterday's defence review provided no clues to their future. Reservists weren't covered by yesterday's announcement. Instead, there'll be a separate study over the next 6 months to determine their future. British Forces News has been told the reserves had faced big cuts, but the government decided to rethink at the last minute. James Hurst reports.
They serve alongside full-time colleagues in Afghanistan, and according to the Defence Review, they perform outstandingly well there. They are deployed elsewhere in the world, like Cyprus policing the buffer zone as part of UN forces. And yet, in the 76-page Strategic Defence and Security Review, they get just one paragraph, announcing a 6-month study into the future role and structure of the reserves.
There was one decision I took where I didn't think that the Ministry of Defence had done enough thinking about our reserve forces. I want us to stop and have a proper think about this, and that's why I've appointed the Deputy CDS, the Vice CDS, to do this.
Britain's reserve forces are far smaller in proportion to full-timers than, say, America or Australia or France. Last month, a think tank report written by 2 former commanding officers of the SAS argued that bigger reserve forces in Britain would mean flexibility and capability for the future could be kept up at much lower cost.
There is huge efficiencies in terms of building capability that come from harnessing a force that costs 1/5 of its regular counterparts. And this wouldn't mean anything if reserve forces weren't useful, but they're proven to be useful.
And yet the reserves have often been a target for cost savings. Now an MP who will help carry out this new study has told British Forces News that new cuts to the reserves were being lined up, but rejected from the Defence Review at the very last minute in favour of a rethink.
This is a study which will make a serious attempt to find a shape for the future of the reserves, which will be attractive to the high-quality men and women that we want to attract into it. And to those people who've already given years of good service, I would say, watch this space.
The full panel and remit for this study haven't even been laid out yet. It has 6 months to report back. James Hurst, Forces News.